world. We are inside this Masonic temple to witness the climax of a strange and sacred ritual, performed only a few times a year. Each ritual features a high level of planning, and behind the scenes, it looks like backstage of any theatre.
Martha, I need this one taken in just about an inch, okay?
But these men are not actors performing for our cameras. They are businessmen and lawyers, citizens and brothers. 21st century Freemasons acting out a scene that has been played out in exactly the same way at Masonic lodges all over the world since the early 1700s. A scene that leads to a chilling climax and a single secret word, seemingly absurd to outsiders but serious to the men in the phony beards and what look like Santa Claus suits. The ritual's central character is a biblical stonemason named Hiram Abiff, architect of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. He is a minor biblical figure mentioned in the Bible's Book of Chronicles, transformed into the central character of Masonic legend and ritual.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I am glad to have met you thus alone. This is an opportunity I have long sought. You promised that when the temple would be completed that you would give us the secret word of a Master Mason.
He is being accosted by three younger workmen known as Jubilah, Jubilo, and Jubilam. They demand from him a password that they think will grant them wisdom and power.
Of Israel, Hiram, King of Tyre, and myself.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, for the last time I demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason, I will take your life.
My life you shall have, my integrity never.
Then die.
The old man's refusal costs him his life.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I heard you cavilling with Jubilah and Jubilo. From them you have escaped, but from me never. My name is Jubilam. What I propose, that I perform. I hold in my hand an instrument of death. If you refuse me now, you do so at your peril. I say, give me the secret word of a Master Mason.
I will not.
I demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason.
I cannot.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, for the third time, I demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason.
Your demands are vain. Wait until the temple is completed, and I will do my best to serve you.
Then die.
Hiram Abiff embodies the values that all Masons strive for in their quest to become Master Masons.
He's a personification of a belief system. It's a purely Masonic myth.
Robert Lomas is author of Turning the Hiram Key. He is a Freemason.
And Hiram Abiff represents the ego. And the ego has to be slain before the spirit can rise free. So you've got to learn to control your ego. And it's a very dramatic ritual.
Then die.
The mythical architect suffers a painful death. Now, according to legend, word reaches King Solomon that his Master Mason has been murdered.
Alas, I fear the Master's word is lost, for you will remember that it was agreed between yourself, myself, and Grand Master Hiram Abiff that the secret word of a Master Mason would not be given unless we three were present and agreed. One of our number is no more.
The old password of a Master Mason has died with Hiram Abiff.
Brethren, let us rise. I shall substitute a word which shall be used for the regulation of all Master Mason lodges until the wisdom of future generations should discover and bring to light the true word. And the first
now King Solomon creates a new word, a word that no Mason at this meeting would pronounce on or off camera. Of all the secrets of Freemasonry, none is as tightly guarded as a single three-syllable word, the pass key to the third degree, the degree of Master Mason. The secret word is Mahabone. The most common interpretation of this word is that it is a corruption of the Hebrew Mahabone, which can be translated as, "Is this the builder?" The word is bestowed in a whisper to the soon-to-be Master Mason, along with a hand grip and stance. Although it is easy to find this secret word online or in a reference book, its true meaning eludes all but those who are initiated into the Masonic mysteries. For Freemasons, the issue is not the word itself. It is the moral lesson of having and keeping the secret and respect for those who have earned their wisdom. This ritual is called the third degree. In this initiation ceremony for all new members, the candidate plays the role of Hiram Abiff. The candidate is blindfolded and led around the lodge room. He is not told what to expect. The fear is very real. The Masons confront him, demanding the secret password of a Master Mason. The candidate's conductor answers on his behalf.
Craftsman, this is neither the time nor the place to give the secret word of a Master Mason. Wait until the temple is completed, and if found worthy, you shall receive it. If not, you cannot.
Cannot speak not to me of time nor place. Give me the secret word of a Master Mason.
I will not.
Will not. Give me the secret word of a Master Mason this instant, or I will take your life.
I shall not.
Then die.
It's a wonderfully powerful ritual. And it's the ritual, the basic teaching of Freemasonry is to teach you to know yourself. And when you act out the role of Hiram Abiff, it's the most dramatic way of learning what your deepest fears are.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I am glad to have met you thus alone.
Your fear of dissolution has to be faced.
Then die.
The fear that you are not going to survive forever. You face your mortality in the third degree, and Hiram Abiff is the character who dies for you.
To the Mason, the lesson is obvious. The understanding of the Brotherhood is taken to the grave. These dramas form an important part of Masonic symbolism. Robert Cooper worries that people take them too literally.
What we have today, unfortunately, is a situation where people now, especially non-Masons, look at what Freemasons do in these dramas, in these plays, and believe them to be literally true. And of course, they are not. And this is where they fall into a really quite serious error, because trying to prove something that was never, ever designed to be true is impossible.
Then die.
The public's willingness to believe the Masons would go to extreme lengths to protect their secrets led them to be accused of a much more horrific crime.
One of the areas where we have and continue from time to time to be brought into conspiracy theory is Jack the Ripper saga.
The killer would cut his victim's throat and then mutilate their bodies and remove their internal organs. The killer, known as Jack the Ripper, was never found. Philip Hutchinson is a Jack the Ripper tour guide, but not a Freemason.
At 1:44 a.m. on the 30th of September 1888, the body of Catherine Eddowes was found in a corner of Mitre Square. The mutilations to her face and to her body were fairly extreme. People have since linked on to a possible Masonic connection to this. Firstly, two inverted V's were cut onto her cheeks. Some people have claimed if you put those two V's together, you would actually get an M denoting a Mason. Secondly, the name Mitre Square, well, people are saying obviously the mitre and the square both being Masonic symbols.
There are a number of writers who have claimed that this was a Masonic conspiracy for a number of different reasons, but generally a conspiracy to preserve the status quo.
If the circumstantial evidence linking the Masons to the killings wasn't enough, further grisly discoveries alleged more Masonic conspiracy.
At 2:55, just an hour and 10 minutes after the murder of Catherine Eddowes in Mitre Square, PC Alfred Long was walking up Goulston Street. He found half a white apron. Jack had cut it away from the body and used it to wipe his knife clean and wipe his hands whilst running away from the murder scene. But it was what was found next to the apron that's since become the stuff of legend.
there was an inscription apparently left on the wall, and it was something to the effect that it was the Jewes, J-U-W-E-S, that did it.
Was this graffiti meant as an anti-Semitic statement, or could the word Jewes have significance to the Masons?
In the American Masonic rituals, there is in one part of one of the ceremonies reference to a group of 3 people who were titled Jubilo, Jubilar, Jubilum.
These 3 men were the ones who killed Hiram Abiff in the Masonic third-degree ritual. A theory emerged that they were known collectively as the Jewes. This suggested that the killer had Masonic knowledge.
According to a book which came out in 1975, the Ripper File, these 3 men, Jubilar, Jubilo, Jubilum, were referred to collectively as the Jewes, J-U-W-E-S, the way the word Jews was misspelt on this wall. That's complete fiction.
In Masonic history, these 3 men are actually referred to as the Ruffians.
This ritual concerning Jubilar, Jubilo and Jubilum was actually dropped from British Freemasonry shortly after 1814. And certainly by the year of 1888, only the greatest of Masonic experts would have known any reference to them whatsoever.
The police commissioner, Sir Charles Warren, a Mason himself, had the graffiti removed. This was probably to quell anti-Semitic feelings at the time, rather than some kind of Masonic cover-up. John Hamill argues this is all just the work of conspiracy theorists.
There's been so much work done that even ripperologists themselves, apart from the lunatic fringe, accept that it is a conspiracy theory, that there is no historical fact in it.
Everything you've read about Freemason links to Jack the Ripper is the work of fiction.
Whilst there seems to be no links to Masonry in either the crimes of Jack the Ripper or a subsequent police cover-up, there are still some who insist Masons were involved in Roberto Calvi's murder.
It's an interesting comparison between the Ripper case and the Calvi case and the way people reacted. With Calvi, everybody assumed because of the way he was found and because of the background to it and the fact that the mafia were after him, the Italian police were after him, there was an awful huge amount of money missing from the bank. Everybody assumed, and it certainly looked as though it was suicide. But it was quite some months after the event, and when people started to doubt whether it was suicide, that suddenly, rather like the Ripper case, the Masonic element suddenly comes in, oh, it's the Masons again.
Conspiracy theories like Jack the Ripper and Calvi left the Freemasons bruised. They fuel public suspicion about an organization that meets in secret and keeps its practices silent. But there is still no actual evidence of Freemasonry involvement in Calvi.
I don't think that Freemasons in general had anything to do with it at all. That doesn't mean that whoever did perpetrate the murder, assuming he was murdered, didn't try and make it look like some kind of Masonic killing. But I personally don't think so. No, I don't think that the Freemasons had anything to do with it.
So who else had the motive?
Assuming the Mafia killed him, the Mafia had a couple of motives. One was the fact they'd lost money through him. They'd entrusted money to Calvi to be laundered and all the rest of it, and this money had just gone up in smoke with the collapse of Banco Ambrosiano. That's the one and most likely reason. I think the fear was, from the Mafia's point of view, that if he confessed, he would confess and tell terrible secrets about the Mafia, which the Mafia obviously doesn't like at all.
One of the reasons that many people jumped to the conclusion that Masons were involved in the death of Roberto Calvi